When I find something I like or feel an impulse to buy, I would say that 99% of the time I don't end up buying that thing. Which is probably one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time making videos about things I refuse to spend money on or no longer own as a minimalist. But one huge lesson that I've learned over the years is that minimalism isn't about owning nothing, it's about putting your money where your mind is and aligning the way that you spend your money with your greatest values and goals in life. And one thing that always helps me be more intentional with my spending habits is to take the time to reflect on the purchases that I've made at the end of the year so that I can take those lessons with me into the new year. And that's why in today's video, I wanted to talk about the best and worst purchases that I made in 2024, including one that left me wondering, did I just get scammed out of $500? Let's dive in. Hi there, friend, and welcome to my channel. My name is Marissa, and this is A to Zen Life, and one of the best purchases that I made over the past year was also one of the biggest, and that was the mid-century modern house that we bought over this past summer. My husband and I actually met 15 years ago at a Chinese New Year party in Chicago, and so when we had to relocate back to the USA after 4 years of living in Germany, we knew that we wanted to land in the Chicago suburbs. One of the things that my husband and I did before we even moved back to the USA was we sat down and we created a checklist of things that we wanted to see in the house that we eventually would buy. And some of the things our wish list included were things like high ceilings, plenty of natural lighting, and a house that had some degree of character and wasn't just a basic cookie cutter house. And then another consideration for us was that once we got settled into the rental in our school district, our boys felt very strongly that they didn't want to have to leave and go to a new school and make new friends again. So then it became really, really important for us to find something within the school district that we were already in, which really narrowed down our search. So we were really excited when we saw this house come onto the market because not only did it check off most of our boxes, but it was also in our budget. And it was in my dream neighborhood that has lots of mature trees and the cutest little park. So we were super, super psyched to find it. When it comes to character, this house has plenty of it. And some of my favorite features included the vaulted ceilings and the sun porch that allows me to live my best Studio Ghibli life. And I love to sit on and sip some tea when the weather is warm. And now that we're living in the house, I've even started to love some of the things that I initially felt more neutral about or even didn't like the older red oak cabinets and the blue backsplash in the kitchen that I initially thought that I was going to get rid of. But now that we live here, I ended up loving. So I've really, really been pleased with our purchase. However, I will say that we are finding that owning a house is a lot more work than we expected because my husband and I have always pretty much lived in apartments or townhomes or flats where we weren't responsible for things like yard maintenance and pest control, which we'll talk about later. There's definitely a learning curve to home ownership, and so we're finding out that it's a lot more responsibility than expected, not necessarily in a bad way, but we'll see how it goes. And speaking of our house, number 2 on this list of best purchases is our hardwood floors. So when we initially purchased this house, it had carpet in the living room, it had carpet in the bedrooms, downstairs and upstairs, and we knew that we wanted to put hardwood floors in because the carpets and curtains had this kind of musty nursing home smell to them. So we spent a lot of time researching what kinds of hardwood floors we wanted to put in, what grade of hardwood floors, and what color that we wanted to stain the floors. We spent so much time thinking about and worrying about these hardwood floors because hardwood flooring ain't cheap, and our biggest fear was that we would put in the white oak hardwood floors that we really wanted, but we were afraid that the white oak would clash with the warm red oak that we have for the trim on the doors and the door frames and the windows throughout the house. So our flooring guy ended up staining a couple pieces of wood in different colors and different kinds of wood so that we could see what it would look like, and we pushed it up against the walls in the corners of the house so that we could see how it kind of blended with the baseboards and whatnot. And we just crossed our fingers and went with the white oak with a neutral stain. We are so pleased with how it looks, and the house not only looks fresher, it also smells fresher. Another one of my favorite purchases in 2024 has included several live plants that we've put throughout this house. And I've spoken before on this channel about how I'm a total black thumb, and I previously was not able to keep a plant alive for the life of me. I can keep children alive, but plants just somehow were out of my reach. But luckily I have my husband help me, and so we purchased some plants for different areas of the house. We bought a jade plant, we bought a snake plant that currently resides in our bedroom, and then we also have this large bird of paradise plant that you see behind me. This is the one that I'm questioning most if we're able to take care of. It doesn't actually live there because there's a vent on the floor that you can't see, and we were a little bit worried that the vent coming up and blowing air on the plant might not be good for it. So it actually lives over in this one corner, but let me show you because I'm a little bit worried about it. Okay, so as you can see, our plant is just kind of looking a little, I don't know, crispy around the edges. And when I was trying to research about how to take care of this kind of plant, it's like, oh, you could be underwatering it or you could be overwatering it. So I have no idea what we need to do to keep this plant healthy. But if you have any tips for me seeing this bird of paradise and what it looks like, please let me know in the comment section because I'm just concerned because I definitely don't want this plant to die because it's so pretty. After living with a bunch of fake plants that were in our furnished rental townhouse for a year, I made it a goal that we would get some real live plants into this house. And I really appreciate the pop of color and the life that they bring. Again, with like owning a house, there's a learning curve. I think that there's also a learning curve when it comes to taking care of plants. So fingers crossed I can get that figured out. Oh, speaking of plants, purchase number 4 on the best purchases list is pumpkins. And this is a really unexpected thing that has brought me and my family so much joy since we moved in, because having not ever had a house with a yard before, I guess we didn't realize that after Halloween, the squirrels will just descend upon your pumpkins and devour them. And after living in cities where you barely see any wildlife, I just find so much joy in looking out my window and seeing these chunky little squirrels nibbling on the pumpkins on our front porch. Those of you who have been following me for a long time know that I have a special affinity for squirrels, and my first blog was even called Squirrels of a Feather. So I can tell this is probably going to become a yearly tradition for us to buy pumpkins and then leave them out after Halloween and well past Thanksgiving to make sure that the squirrels in our neighborhood are well fed. Speaking of Halloween, the next purchase on this list was an absolute lifesaver when it came to Halloween in our neighborhood, and that was this IKEA lamp. I forget the name of it. Okay, so it's called the IKEA Landsport portable lamp, and it's an LED lamp that is battery operated, but you can put in rechargeable batteries and then use a USB cord to actually recharge those batteries so that you can keep using it over and over. And I initially purchased this for my husband and I's bedroom because I really wanted to have something small that we could kind of move around the room, and it has a nice warm glow, but then also I really liked how it has this magnetic handle on it. So if for some reason we ever lost electricity, makes a really nice amount of light and you can carry it around with you. And that's actually what we did during Halloween as well. So it was super dark in our neighborhood during Halloween. Even when people had Halloween lights and things, in between there was just giant pools of darkness that we had to walk through. So what I did is I took this lamp out with us when we went trick-or-treating with some of our friends so that cars and people who were passing could see us, and that we didn't feel like, we were just out in the middle of nowhere in the darkness. There's so many things to love about this lamp, because not only is it cheap and it looks good, but it's also so multifunctional that you can use it in a variety of ways. Best purchase number 6 on this list is my Uplift standing desk, and I have actually been wanting to purchase a standing desk for a while now, but then back in Germany, I already had a desk that was really nice and that I loved, So I didn't really want to get rid of that desk that was still perfectly good and functional to replace it with a standing desk. So when we moved here, I knew it was the perfect opportunity for me to try out a standing desk, especially because we moved from a walkable city in Europe to the suburbs of the US where you have to drive a car everywhere. My daily activity level went from a lot to basically nothing. So I like that my standing desk gives me the opportunity to get up off of my butt and stand on my feet, do a little bit of moving back and forth. And I'm actually probably planning to get a walking pad for under my desk as well. So far, I am absolutely loving my standing desk. I love the color that I picked. I love the top that I picked. And by the way, I will link that down below in case you're interested in checking it out. I forgot to say that I will try to link all of the links that I talk about in this video down in the description box below if I can. Obviously, I can't link things like pumpkins or my house. So I'll make sure to link that down below, as well as the particular wood and color combinations and features that I chose. And I do plan on doing a review of them in the future, so stay tuned for that. Best purchase number 7 is my AirPods. And I almost feel like I should have started this list with the AirPods because they were the very first thing that I purchased at the beginning of the year, and they have been totally life-changing for me. So my husband actually purchased a set of AirPods on sale for his work, and then when he got them, he let me try them out, and I was just blown away by the noise cancellation feature. And so I decided to buy a pair myself, and I cannot express to you how much of a difference they make in my life as an overstimulated mom. And I didn't even realize how overstimulated I was until I would start making dinner and I would put my AirPods in, and it would just kind of take that edge off of the background noise. I'm sure that those of you who are moms know the feeling. You get to the end of the day and you're making dinner and the kids are done with their homework and they're being rowdy in the background, and it doesn't cancel it out completely. So I can still hear what's going on for safety purposes, but it just kind of makes it a little bit less overwhelming. So if you have an iPhone or Apple products, these are a great little accessory to have. Number 8 on this list is the Scrub Daddy sponge. And this is kind of a funny one because this is something that my kids were begging me to buy. We were watching funny videos one time, and then it came up, the video of the guy on Shark Tank promoting his product, which was the Scrub Daddy sponge. And after they saw him on Shark Tank, they just thought that the Scrub Daddy was the coolest thing ever and they wanted to buy one. It's not just that it's a really functional and useful sponge, but also it inspires my children to want to help with washing the dishes. Can you believe that? I think that any product that encourages your kids to be more independent and to clean up after themselves is a huge win. Best purchase number 9 is my toaster. And I'm sure that you're probably thinking, oh, a toaster is a toaster and aren't all toasters the same? But no, a lot of toasters only have slots for 2 slices. And so if you're a family of 4, that means that 2 people would have their food ready while the other 2 people have to wait for the next batch of toast to come out. But with the toaster that I bought currently, it has longer slices and you can still fit enough bread in for every member of the family, or you can fit in the extra long slices that otherwise with a regular toaster, you would have to toast first one side and then flip it around and put it in to toast the other side. And then another feature that I love about our toaster that I didn't even realize was a thing until we moved to Germany is it has these little bars that you can flip up with a switch that you can put buns or baguettes on top to give them a little toast. And that's a really nice feature to have. And I didn't see it on any other toasters until I found this one. I was literally looking at hundreds of toasters, and I am so, so happy that I was able to find the one that I found. Purchase number 10 on this list is the Le Creuset Dutch oven that I got on sale at Crate & Barrel. I think I actually have to step in and correct myself here. I believe the correct pronunciation is Le Creuset, and I've been pronouncing it wrong my entire life. I think I'm saying it right now. Le Creuset. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I've wanted a Le Creuset for I think almost 10 years now. I mean, when minimalists talk about putting things on lists and waiting to buy them for 30 days or whatever, I mean, sometimes I wait years before I actually go ahead and pull the trigger. So I found one that was cream with a gold handle on sale at Crate and Barrel, and I purchased that and I've made a ton of stuff in it already, and I'm really enjoying experimenting with this. And the great thing about things like Le Creuset or the All Clad pan that I've talked about before in some of my videos is that they're really heirloom pieces that once you buy them, they can last for pretty much forever, and I'll probably even be able to pass it down to my children. Number 11 on this list of best purchases is my fuzzy hoodie sweatshirt and fuzzy pants. One of the things about having a home with high ceilings is that it can really drive up your heating costs in the winter if you want to keep the temperature up warm. While the rest of my family will be comfortable in pants and a t-shirt, I would be freezing and underneath a blanket. So instead of walking around wearing a blanket all the time, what I did is I bought a sweatshirt and a pair of pants that have a fuzzy thermal lining inside. I'm actually wearing the pants right now, in fact. Little did you know. I'm business up top and Eskimo down below. See how it's kind of fuzzy on the inside? So I really love my fuzzy pants and my fuzzy sweatshirt because they help me stay cozy in the winter, but also save money on heating costs. Number 12 on this list is our Thuma bed frame, and we liked the Thuma bed frame so much when we saw it at our friend's house that we ended up buying one for ourselves and two smaller bed frames for our children to have in their bedroom, which they both share. So if you search for minimalist bed frame on Google, Thuma is always one of the top results, and I think that it's because it's a really interesting concept because instead of using a bunch of screws, what it has is Japanese joinery that basically is just you drop it together and then it's made like a puzzle that just holds together. And another great thing about it is that it's super sturdy. So I really like the bed frame that we had back in Germany, but one of the problems with it is that it was a little bit flimsy. So one of my kids actually broke one of the slats underneath jumping onto the bed with my husband. And so my husband, when he would get up in the morning, would also have to be kind of conscious and careful not to put too much weight on his side where that particular slat was broken. This Thuma bed frame is super, super solid from the frame to the slats. And so I know that there's absolutely no problem with having all of us on the bed because it's just that solid. I also love that the corners of the bed are rounded, especially because my kids are kind of accident prone. And just having that gentle rounding instead of a really sharp bed corner just helps me feel a little bit less scared when my kids are getting rowdy. The 13th best purchase on this list is the ping pong table that we bought and put in our lower level. And this is something that was on my husband's wish list for many, many years, but that we never really had space for because we always lived in smaller homes. But it was always his dream to someday be able to have a space where he could play ping pong with the boys. And now that we have a house that's a little bit larger and we have a lower level, that was one of the first things that we got for our home, and my husband has been mercilessly destroying us all at ping pong. This is one purchase that I've actually gotten some pushback and criticisms about from people who think that a minimalist family shouldn't own a ping pong table. Like this commenter who said, talking about minimalism with a table tennis table in their basement, ha ha ha. When I see comments like that, I try not to take it personally and instead use it as an opportunity to remind people that minimalism will look different for every single person that practices it, and it's up for each of us to define what it's going to look like for ourselves. And so having a ping pong table is really aligned with our values as a family and what we enjoy doing together. We enjoy spending time together. We enjoy physical activity. And yeah, we love owning a ping pong table because it means that we have something to do during the long, cold Chicago winters when we can't get outside for months at a time without freezing our fingers off. Number 14 on this list might be a little bit random, but it is Taro Ant Killer. And remember when I said that home ownership comes with a lot of unexpected surprises? Well, An ant infestation was one of the surprises that we unfortunately got when we moved in. We tried some other ant killers to get rid of the ants, like Raid, that didn't work. So finally, we searched online on Amazon and found the Taro ant killer that was really highly reviewed, and it was able to help us get rid of the ants. Those ants aren't paying us rent, so why should I let them come into my home and eat my food? No, thank you. Best purchase number 15 on this list is our Ring security camera system. Now that we are living in a house that has a ground entry level, I just like having the peace of mind that we can get alerts and alarms when there is activity around our home. And they also have some really interesting features, like you can see videos that other people post in your neighborhood to alert or warn each other of suspicious activity. Like a while back, we had seen some videos that a homeowner had shared where people were going around in a neighborhood close to ours and trying the car doors to see if anyone was leaving their car doors unlocked. And then also another neighbor had posted in the neighborhood that they had seen a coyote and they were warning people to keep their small dogs and cats indoors. So far, the most that we've caught on our Ring cameras has been wildlife activity in our area, which we've also really enjoyed seeing the possums and the raccoons and the coyotes running around. But I definitely sleep easier at night knowing that our home is covered by the Ring security system. Best purchase number 16 on this list is swim lessons for my boys. And this is great because not only is it helping them stay healthy and building their strength and stamina while also teaching them discipline, but it also gives me time to exercise because while they're in their swim lessons, I can go to the gym and do a little bit of workout myself. One of our core philosophies as a minimalist family is investing in experiences, not things. So that's why we choose to put our money towards things like swim lessons instead of a bunch of toys that they honestly probably would never play with. And finally, the last best purchase on this list is a leaf blower. And I think this is another one of those things that you don't realize about home ownership until you actually become a homeowner, how much time it actually takes to clean up the leaves that fall into your yard in the autumn. So my husband and I and the boys were spending hours upon hours upon hours raking leaves out of the driveway and yard. And my husband finally purchased a leaf blower, which has helped take a lot of the burden off of the physical labor of raking by just being able to go out there with the leaf blower and blow it away. I'm not saying that we never have to rake leaves because we still do have to around some of the bushes and the places that have more plants, but it's a huge, huge help. And speaking of leaf blowers, that brings us to the first worst purchase on this list, which was an off-brand battery for that leaf blower that I talked about earlier. So while the leaf blower has been helpful, what we were finding is that one battery is not enough to get through our entire yard. So my husband, in an effort to save money, ended up purchasing an off-brand battery that he could switch out while the other battery for the leaf blower was charging. But he tested it out, and what he found was that that battery was lasting half the time. By the time we figured this out, we were pretty much done with our leaf blowing needs for the year, but we did end up returning that battery, and then next year we'll probably buy a battery that's the same brand as the actual leaf blower to make sure that it has the same, capacity. The next worst purchase that I want to talk about with you is the ChemX coffee maker. And this one was a huge disappointment because I see so many content creators who make their coffee using this, but honestly, we found that it wasn't that good at keeping coffee hot. And then the problem with that is that when you realize that it's not keeping the coffee hot, then it can turn into the spiral of buying more products to try to keep your coffee hot to compensate. So that's exactly what happened with me is when I found that the Chemex coffee maker wasn't keeping the coffee hot, I bought this little jacket for it to try to insulate it and keep it warm. And then I also even purchased a little lid to put on top of it in the hopes that that would also keep the coffee that we made in here warm as well. But my husband was just still disappointed with the ChemX coffee maker. And so what I ended up getting instead that he likes much better is just this simple coffee cup that sits on top of your cup and you can make pour over coffee in this. This is what my husband likes and uses on a daily basis. But we did decide to keep this coffee maker because when we have guests come over and we want to make more coffee, we need to have something that makes a little bit more coffee than just this small cup here. But if you're in the market for a coffee maker and you're considering the Chemex, I would definitely do your research and take all of those reviews and recommendations with a grain of salt. Worst purchase number 3 was a sideboard that I got from Amazon. So when we moved into this house, I knew that I wanted a sideboard to put against the wall of our dining room. And initially we had been looking at some nicer sideboards, but they were a little bit too expensive for our taste. So I thought, well, why don't I just look on Amazon and try to save some money? And so I went on there and I found a sideboard that I liked the look of, and I even kind of photoshopped it into our space to see how it would look, and I loved it. But then when we actually purchased it and we got it and my husband and my kids put it together, the quality was just really, really bad and the doors didn't close properly. So it arrived to us broken. So then if you have something broken from Amazon, then you can return it, right? Well, apparently Amazon has this new policy that's called the A to Z guarantee. And what I found was they were asking me to do with the A to Z guarantee is they were asking me to pack the whole thing back up and ship it back to them, paying out of my own pocket, which to me made absolutely no sense because the sideboard is defective. And I know that even if I pay to ship it back to them, they're just going to throw it in the trash. To me, it would just make more sense for me to show that it's a damaged product, for me to discard it, and for them to give me my money back. But no. As part of the A to Z guarantee, they were insistent that I had to pack that thing back up in the original packaging and send it back and pay out of my own pocket for the shipping. So then on top of the money that I'd already spent for this crappy broken sideboard, I then had to pay an extra $250 to ship that sideboard back to the seller, who then totally ghosted me and didn't give me a refund. And it kind of left me wondering if I was actually going to get that money back or if this was just, a total scam. So I did end up getting my over $500 that I'd put into the sideboard and into the shipping back. But it was basically months and months of me having to go back and forth with Amazon about this and send them pictures and documentation and shipping labels and proof multiple times. So it's definitely made me think about how I'm going to approach using Amazon differently in the future. But we did end up getting a free sideboard when we moved out of our furnished rental and our landlord decided they didn't want a bunch of items. So that ended up being a net positive thing, although it was a very trying experience at the time. Another purchase that we've made that's been really disappointing so far is the Loloi rug that we got from Wayfair. And I had actually been waiting on this rug for a really, really long time because it was back ordered. And I love the way that it looks, but when we did get it into our home, we found that it sheds a lot, like a lot. And we're getting little rug hairs all over our clothes, which are then kind of migrating all over the house. And I'm hoping that once we've owned the rug a while and we've vacuumed it a few more times, maybe the shedding will go away. But as for right now, it's a little bit of a disappointment. And I don't know what it is about rugs because I also talked about a previous rug that I was disappointed in, which was my Ruggable, I think that I purchased 2 years ago. So I guess I just have bad luck with rugs. The fifth worst purchase on this list is a set of memory foam pillows that I got for myself and my husband. And I would have returned it, except we had already opened one of them and then gotten a stain on it somehow. So because it came as a set of 2, we weren't really able to go through with the return. I initially bought these memory foam pillows hoping that they would be a little bit firmer because my husband and I both don't like pillows that are too soft. But what we found is that the cervical bit that's behind your neck was just a little too high, and so it was a little bit too uncomfortable to sleep in, and you're kind of waking up with a crink in your neck. So we ended up going with a different set of pillows, and then I'm going to have to get rid of those. Worst purchase number 6 are these tall drinking glasses that I got from Goodwill. And the reason that I got these glasses is because I had gotten some shorter ribbed glasses that I like a lot. But then what I was finding is that when we were wanting to drink things like smoothies or bubble tea, the small glasses just weren't really cutting it. And so I wanted to find some larger glasses, and I stumbled upon these at Goodwill, and I really liked the pattern. My husband hates them. He says they look like beer glasses, but I thought it was so cute. And I got them on a color day. So each of these glasses was only $1. I got 4 of them, spending $4 total. And these glasses, when they're brand new, are around $28 a piece. So that's over $100 worth of glasses right there. But the problem is, when I was looking at them, I realized there was kind of this mark around the top, and I thought that it was just a little bit dirty. Maybe it hadn't been washed before it was donated. But then when I got it home and I started trying to remove it, I realized that it was actually etching damage. I don't know if you can see it here. It's like this that I thought was just, maybe soap scum or discoloration from being dirty. But unfortunately, that doesn't come off. So that was a thrifting miss. So I'm currently on the lookout for tall glasses that I can buy instead. And then when I find those, I will swap the damaged glasses out for them and get rid of them. And finally, number 24 on this list, which is number 7 of the worst purchases, is a drawer organizer that I got from IKEA. And the problem with this drawer organizer was that when I got it home, I realized that although I measured the outside boundaries to make sure that it would fit inside the drawer, I didn't measure the inner compartments to make sure that my silverware would actually fit inside. So that was a rookie mistake on my part. And I ended up having to return that drawer organizer to IKEA. And then I found one on Amazon that works much, much better in the space that I have. And you can go and check out this video up here that I'm linking at the top if you want to see what it is that I finally ended up putting inside of my kitchen drawers to get them organized. As we've gone through this list, especially the bad purchases that we just talked about, I wonder if you noticed that a lot of the things that I consider bad purchases are more minor inconveniences than anything else. And I think that just goes to show you the power of minimalism and intentional spending, which is that when you are more mindful and more thoughtful and you take your time with buying things, you're really going to reduce the amount of impulse purchases that you make and the amount of buyer's remorse that you have later from buying stuff that you don't end up liking or that you don't end up using or wasting money on in general. And believe me, this is not something that happened for me overnight, because I have a good solid 15 years of frugal living and 8+ years of minimalist living under my belt that's gotten me to this point. And if you want to find out more about that or hear some of my favorite tips and strategies for reducing buyer's remorse and saving money, make sure to go check out one of these videos that YouTube thinks that you'll like, or I'll see you next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.